President-elect Joe Biden is making another historic pick for his brand new cabinet. He is nominating retired Army General Lloyd Austin to be his defense secretary. If confirmed, Austin will be the first African-American to lead the Pentagon and the country's 1.3 million troops. Since Austin retired from the military just 4 years ago, he'll require a waiver from Congress to serve as the Secretary of Defense. It's an exception that's been made only twice in the last 70 years. Joining us, NBC News' Jeff Bennett, live in Wilmington, Delaware, and retired four-star U.S. Army General Barry McCaffrey, who is now, lucky for us, an MSNBC military analyst. He's also a former member of the National Security Council. General McCaffrey, I start with you. What do you know about who, if confirmed, the country's next Secretary of Defense?
Well, look, I watched President-elect Biden roll out a series of senior officials of government and been thrilled with them. This may be his best of all. I've watched Lloyd Austin for 20 years. He has incredible experience. He is loved and admired by the armed forces and our international allies. He's a very low-key person of tremendous integrity, very well educated. He understands the budget in the Pentagon and how the Pentagon works. A lot of joint command time. I think it's a remarkable appointment and will be well received by the national security arena.
General McCaffrey, I want to read you something that Joe Biden wrote about his new nominee. And I want you to talk about the importance of the relationship between a commander-in-chief and the person who runs the Pentagon for us after I read this. This is from President-elect Biden. Why I chose Lloyd Austin as Secretary of Defense. In his more than 40 years in the United States Army, Austin met every challenge with extraordinary skill and profound personal decency. He is a true and tested soldier and leader. I've spent countless hours with him in the field and in the White House Situation Room. I've sought his advice, seen his command, and admired his calm and his character. He is the definition of a patriot. And I guess my question is, it's a good reminder that as we kind of game out who's up and who's down in terms of these appointments, it's all about the incoming president's rapport and relationship with the certain candidates. And it's clear that this is who he wants in this job, isn't it?
Oh, no question. Look, I think the other thing, there's been this incredible chaos in government at every level, to include the national security process, for 4 years. It's been abysmal. Lloyd Austin is so easy to get along with. I've been bombarded with thousands of texts and tweets of people that work for General Austin over the years. So part of his contribution to the president-elect is to help end the chaos inside the Beltway. He knows everything about national security issues. He has a global grasp of the problem, but he's also got no ego and a soft-spoken voice.
Jeff Bennett, that's the good news, I guess, if you're the president-elect. Here's some of the potential landmines. There's already some resistance to this appointment. Let me read you something, a quote from Democratic Senator Jack Reed. He's the ranking member of Senate Armed Services, and this is about this waiver that's required if you've not been out of the military for 7 years. He says this, quote, waiving the law should happen no more than once in a generation, according to Senator Jack Reed, a West Point graduate and former Army Ranger. He said that when retired General Jim Mattis was confirmed as Pentagon chief in 2017, adding, quote, therefore, I will not support a waiver for future nominees. In the New York Times, Jim Golby, a former Pentagon and White House staffer, says this, the Pentagon needs to reestablish traditional national security processes and return to a sense of normalcy. After 4 years of relative, if erratic, autonomy under Mr. Trump, military leaders may chafe when civilian national security leaders ask to check their homework. To some extent, that's healthy. Too much friction can stop or slow process. Certain levels necessary. And the conclusion there is General Lloyd Austin, a recently retired general, should not be Secretary of Defense. What does the transition team think about the odds for getting him through?
Well, Nicole, I'll put it this way. That is precisely why the president-elect wrote that op-ed that The Atlantic published just the last hour. Joe Biden has written no such op-ed for any other cabinet selection. And I think the key graph in that entire piece that he wrote was this: I hope that Congress will grant a waiver to Secretary-designate Austin, just as Congress did for Jim Mattis. Given the immense and urgent threats and challenges our nation faces, he should be confirmed swiftly, Biden writes. So back in 2017, there were actually 17 Senate Democrats who voted against the waiver that Jim Mattis needed to serve as Donald Trump's defense secretary, and the Biden transition team is keenly aware of that. So that op-ed was, I think, choreographed, designed to blunt that criticism. It was also designed to blunt the criticism, I guess disappointment is a better word, among the supporters of Michelle Flournoy. If people don't know who she is a Pentagon veteran who was widely assumed to be defense secretary for Hillary Clinton back in 2016 had Hillary Clinton won. And she was an early contender, a top contender to be Joe Biden's defense chief. And so there are some folks, Democrats in the sort of national security community, who are disappointed, even as they, welcome the fact that Joe Biden has selected General Austin to serve as his defense secretary. There is a bit of a disappointment that Michelle Flournoy did not emerge as the top choice. Nicole.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.